Time to add some paddles. Well, fortunately, each paddle is going to look exactly the same, the player paddle and the computer paddle, so we can reuse the same paddle. Let's take a look at the paddle.py. You want to create a Python file called paddle.py. We need to import the height because we need to know how tall our Pong surface is. When we initialize the paddle, we can initialize each of these paddles with different XY coordinates. When we're passing in arguments, we pass that to here, we pass that to there, X and Y, then we have self X and self Y, which we can use for the entire program. We set the width of the paddle to 10, height of the paddle to 100. You want to change the height and width? Well, just change those. Now we're creating a rectangle. We're creating a PyGame rect. There's the top left. There's the Y coordinate of the top left. There's the width and the height. That defines a rectangle. Well, we should look at the rectangles. Oh, we can't run that file. Sorry. You can't run a class file without a main to call it. All right, here we go. And you can see, there we have it. Now the computer is going to be bouncing up and down, kind of a dumb AI, but that's enough for this game. Sometimes it'll hit, sometimes it won't. But they're the same paddle class. We created two instances of the paddle class, one for the player, one for the computer. Back to the paddle class. We set the height, we set the speed. Then we do need a move up method because the player is going to move up and down. So we both need that. So if the Y coordinate is greater than 0, which means it's greater than 0 means that it's up here, we need to, which means it's below the top, we need to change and move it down by subtracting the speed. So that moves the paddle up until it hits 0. Then we can't go any further. We don't want to move off the screen. Same thing with moving it down. If the Y is less than the height minus the height, which is clear down here, if we go down there, we don't want to go any further. And we increase the Y coordinate by the speed value. So we move down. Remember, 0, whatever, 500, 0, 500. Now the computer paddle has a mind of its own. So if the rectangle, the top of the rectangle, and the speed are, well, we're going to stop at greater than 20, which means 20 pixels from the top. Then we're going to move it in the current direction. Else, if we're up here, we go the other way. And if the bottom is less than the height minus 20, well, we want to go back. So it's going to bounce back and forth, and it'll reverse each time by the speed value. So it goes up, hits the top, bounces down, hits the bottom, goes back and forth, all by itself. It's not really an AI, but AI is the big buzzword. It is moving automatically without any input from us. We do need to import the paddle class in here. Then if we go down a little bit, we need to set up a player paddle and a computer paddle. So the player paddle is going to start at X, 5, which will be 5 in from the left side. The height is going to be whatever the height is, minus 100, divided by 2, integer math. Same thing for this guy, except it's going to be the width minus 100 instead of 5, and the height minus 100, which just means that it's going to start in the middle. And there it did. Oh, it moves so fast you couldn't see it. but it did start in the middle. And here I'm starting in the middle. And remember those things that said, oh, I can't go any further. Oh, I can't go any further. Notice I can go from edge to edge, but the computer paddle stops 20 pixels short as it's bouncing back and forth. Now I was able to move. Let's go down here and find this. I was able to move my, there it is. I was able to move my paddle up and down. So we're getting all the keyboard keys pressed at that moment. If it's K up, we move up. If it's K down, we move down. If the key is K escape, we're done and we leave the program. We can use the escape key. Well, that's all well and good. However, we need to get all this integrated into our game loop. So let's take a look at that. Draw a net we've already looked at. There's our game loop. So we need to call move computer paddle. Where did that come from? Well, computer is an object defined in this class. And we're accessing this method. So self.computer is referring to the object. This is a method that's part of the object. These are all methods that are part of the Pong object that we're currently in. This is how you access an object from another file, which happens to be in there. That happens to be in another file. We still fill our background, we draw our ball, we draw our rectangles. Oh, no, this is new. We draw the rectangle for the player's paddle based on where it is. So we draw it to the surface. We color it in with the ball color. This shows us where to draw it. Same thing. We draw it on the surface. There's our color. We draw it where the rect tells us to go. And when we run it, we don't have collisions yet, but we do have, things moving around. Well, that's not bad. Let's come back with 6 and see what else we can do with the Pong game, the classic from Atari.